This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids.
What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Megas, and in part 3 of my DoorDash series, we're going to go into the financial aspect of it. Is it worth doing for a living? The answer is it depends. Depends on how much you see you can generate and whether or not you're willing to put up with the inconsistencies. Now, when I started, it was a bit inconsistent, but as the year went on and as it became something that I started to do full time, it was very consistent. That was because when I started doing this full time, it was at the beginning of the pandemic, so that may have skewed things a little. But as the year went on and as things calmed down, it still was pretty consistent enough to where I can do it. My car got fucked up, and I had to have it repaired. Um, Luckily, it was under warranty, so I didn't have to come out of pocket. But it cost about 2.5 weeks to have it. And there's where the first big issue with doing DoorDash for a living stands. You do have to keep your car in good condition. And when things happen that take you out of action, you're not getting paid. There's no sick leave. So you have to consider that. You get sick, like I am this week, that's, 4 days I've had without pay. And it's hard to make that back up when you don't have any way to supplement it outside of what you're doing. So it's just like with Lyft, Uber, all the other things, delivery and rideshare services. If you're unable to drive, then there's a problem. Now, if you're able to drive steadily, you don't have any huge issues. There's the issue of daily pay. Some days aren't that great. You'll figure out during the ebb and flow what days, what time periods, and whatnot work best for you to maximize your profits. Now, DoorDash does have something called the Top Dasher program, where if you meet certain requirements, it's 70% acceptance rate, 95% completion rate, which means you actually didn't just accept it and cancel it, but you accepted it, picked up the food, delivered it. You complete the entire cycle. And at least I want to say 150 deliveries a month. I'm not too sure, and I'll look that up and try to make sure to put it in the description. But you meet those requirements, then you can. Oh, and you have to have a 4.7 rating, and then you're a top dasher. What that means is that at any time of the day, no matter what, whether it's busy or not, you can sign in, you can punch in, you can go driving, and try to make some money. You don't have to wait until when you're just a regular driver. You don't have to wait until it shows that the area that you're in is busy, or you don't have to go to an area that's busy in order to start making money. Of course, being in an area that's busy is more beneficial than being in an area that isn't, because the likelihood of you getting orders is much more higher. But it does help that if you are a top dasher, you have carte blanche to work whenever you want, and stop whenever you want. Um, I don't see it as a big financial benefit because it's not like you get a bonus for being a top driver. So keep that in mind. They say that you'll get sent deliveries first and all of that. That doesn't mean that you're going to be sent the best deliveries first. You know what I mean? Excuse me. So keep that in mind. You're still going to get some low paying gigs. Now, as far as pay per gig, it's done by mileage. So you can get some really low pay. Like I say, for me in my area, it could be as low as $3. Um, but the thing about the mileage is the mileage doesn't actually account for actual travel time. Like, put it this way, a lot of people might not think 3 miles is a lot. A lot of people might think 5 miles is a lot. But if you have to travel a certain path to get to that place, it becomes a lot because yeah, you're only traveling that specific distance, but you're eating up a lot of times. There's been times where I've had 3 to 5 mile, you know, travel distance wise, but it's been like a 15-minute trip because of how you got to like navigate traffic, the situation where it's located at. So much time could be eaten in getting to a place because of how the route is. So it's kind of a misnomer to like for them to give you low pay, but because they do their algorithms based on mileage, it's how they can like just pay you $4 or $5 for a 25-minute or more trip. You know, a lot of the better payouts are generally, of course, when people tip. And tips aren't always guaranteed, so keep that in mind as well. So it's a question of working out the dynamics of what to take, what not to take. If you're trying to be on the Top Dasher program, then it becomes how many times can I deny these like low paying jobs for the bigger scores, the ones that have tips, or at least pay you like what you feel is appropriate for the time that's going to be spent in travel, as opposed to not. It's gonna make it very very hard to distinguish because you're trying to keep your numbers up, and you do have to keep your numbers up to some degree, even if you're not a top dasher. That's another thing. If you want to stay active, you at least have to meet certain thresholds. You want to at least stay like 65 and above, things like that. You want to have a you know pretty good uh, rating, and you want your completion percentage to kind of be up in the 80s and all of that at least, because you don't want to be looked at as unreliable, and you know they'll cut you off because they're like, yeah, well, you're below certain thresholds that we need for drivers to at least perform. They will cut you off, and you have to like reapply and hopefully get reinstated. So it can become a dance, but there's smart ways to do the dance. Like you can pick out the certain times of days where you know it's going to be busy, and then you pick certain areas. Like the canvas is a pretty good area because what DoorDash does is it zones off their areas. And when you pick a zone to drive in, you have a pretty good radius. I want to say you have at least a 20-mile radius, probably more than that you cover. So find out the hot spots in those areas and kind of shade towards those. That way, if you're gonna get high volume, you'll probably get high volume in in the area, but you're not gonna go as far. There's certain areas that are hot spots, but only because people want to order from far away. So it's like the question: do I do that one? Because if I know if I'm going to pick, like for me, if I know if I'm going to go to the National Harbor, I may end up back closer to somewhere in the city of Washington D.C., 15 minutes away in the spot that's not that hot, just because someone who lives in the area wanted something. And then now I'm stuck in an area where all I might get is like low paying McDonald's or Wendy's, Popeyes, whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, if I keep accepting, I'm gonna do the loop. I'm gonna be stuck in a loop where I'm gonna do all these low paying jobs. So you just got to know how to bob and weave, basically, and how to maneuver through that. But if you are able to do that effectively, you can pretty much make a healthy amount of money. I've had times where I've made $100 in like 4 hours or less. I've had times where I could make $100 if I did 10 hours. I've had times where I've made like less than $100 doing 10 hours. It's a crapshoot sometimes. But if you know how to maneuver and manipulate what days, what times, everything flows, and DoorDash do give you some incentives sometimes. Sometimes they'll do bounties where they'll give you an extra $10, $20 if you complete a certain amount of deliveries in a certain amount of time. They'll add incentives where Like you get paid an extra up between $1 upwards to maybe $5 on top of what you were going to normally get paid by delivering during a certain time. So you can, look for that as well. It's just reading the map and, like I said, the bobbing and the weaving, and trying to figure out like how to plan it out. And you can make a pretty good amount of money. You can make a living off of it, definitely. But it is not necessarily as easy as it may seem, but it's not as hard as it may seem. So I mean, that's the thing. It's you just gotta get a feel for it. You can do it, but it can be done. It definitely can be done. Anyway, as always, you guys feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Black Makers, and I'm out. Deuces.